debates and decisions that are shaping our continent now in Europeans.
It's a peaceful scene. Shepherds looking after their flocks in the Transylvanian countryside in the heart of Romania. But all is not as it seems. Complex legal debates have been making headlines here for years after the Romanian parliament in 2001 and again in 2005 voted to return property expropriated during the communist regime to its rightful owners. One of the most recent examples is Bran Castle, known around the world as Dracula's castle and Romania's most popular museum. The medieval castle was returned to Dominic von Habsburg this spring, but what will happen now? The decision over the future of the region's main tourist attraction is Dominic's and is still to be made. Together with Bulgaria, Romania wants to join the EU in 2007, and to smooth the path, Bucharest's promised to speed up restitutions, but they can have unexpected repercussions. With the future of the castle hanging in the balance, locals are worried. Bran's retired doctor, Helian Lecce, shares his memories with former village teacher, Ion Bosch. Together with Dominic von Habsburg, they visited the castle just a few weeks ago. Mr. Bosch appealed to his former pupil, now an architect in New York, to take good care of it, thereby safeguarding the economic future of Bran itself.
I tried to convince the descendants of the royal family and tell them that there will be a lot of strange businessmen trying to buy the castle. And I told the royal descendants, in the worst-case scenario, if they decide not to keep the castle, maybe they should think about selling it to the Romanian state so it could remain a museum.
While Romanian tourists spent €543 million abroad last year, foreign visitors brought €688 million into the country. Each year, around 1 million holidaymakers visit Bran Castle and pass through Bran village. Tourism chiefs promote Dracula packages, a visit to the castle combined with other activities, hiking, bear watching, etc. But they know the big draws, the legendary castle.
We hope that in 2009 the Romanian state will be able to rebuy Bran Castle, because the economy of Bran village and our tourism depends on it. We've built a lot in this region. All summer we have many tourists, hundreds of thousands a year. And the residents are very attached to the castle. They want to keep it.
Hundreds of small family inns depend on the castle visitors. With EU membership approaching, more and more Western tourists are discovering Romania. Comparing last year's summer visitor figures with 2004, 35% more Dutch tourists made the trip. More Germans, French and Italian holidaymakers also headed east. In 3 years, Bucharest will hand over administration of the castle to Dominic von Habsburg. It's then up to him what he does with it, but the upkeep is expensive, €1 million a year. This is where the infamous Vlad the Impaler was imprisoned, but the marketing manager explains why it's known as Dracula's castle.
They opened the museum in 1957, but at the beginning we had no tourists because it was not named Dracula Castle. No Dracula, no tourists. After the movie in Hollywood, the story exploded and a lot of people start to come in Transylvania to see Dracula Castle. Because Bram Stoker never visited Transylvania, it could be any castle from Transylvania, so they said this is Dracula Castle because it looks exactly the same, it's old enough to be that one, and it's just like the one from Bram Stoker's story.
From Bran to the city of Sibiu-Hermannstadt, a region where many Germans settled in the Middle Ages. The restitution of the Brukenthal Museum, known to some as the Transylvanian Louvre, to the Protestant Church last December, is another example of Bucharest's will to speed up the return of stolen properties. The Brukenthal is one of 14 historical monuments which are being restored as part of a €100 million programme. It was built by Samuel von Brukenthal, governor of Transylvania in the late 18th century, an important figure of the European Enlightenment. In his last will, he stated his art collection should continue to be open to the public. Liviana Dan is the newly appointed director of the palace.
The collections could be seen by the public at the time when Brukenthal lived here. You just had to sign in with the housekeeper. All the travel guides of the time mentioned it, and the collections were visited even before the Louvre in France was open to the public.
In some ways,
Brukenthal was a trendsetter. He wanted to show on a small scale everything that was in vogue in Europe.
Virgin with Child and the Infant John by Lucas Cranach the Elder, and a painting by Tiziano are just some of the many highlights. The communists took 19 of the most valuable works from Sibiu to Bucharest. The present government plans to hand them back, and a high-security transport scheduled for October.
At the end of the 18th century, this place was a kind of mini Vienna, a point we plan to make in our next exhibition. The so-called Brukenthal model of enlightenment, his interest in gardens, art and pleasure, those were the important elements for this palace.
The next stop on our restitution journey is Cluj-Napoca Koloževac, a city in a region with a strong Hungarian-speaking minority. The communists confiscated more than 2,000 properties from the 4 traditional Hungarian religions. Despite countless handover deadlines, the churches regained full possession of just 54 buildings. Bishops are blaming local authorities for obstructing the return of church property and land. Bishop of the Unitarian Church of Romania explains what happened to the church secondary school of Cluj, established in 1557.
We had a very large library here, and that library was confiscated and taken to another part of the city, and now is a part of the library of the Romanian Academy. So we are claiming back our library as well. And some of our, the material of our archives also has been confiscated. So we would like to have back also those important documents, which are important for the history of our church. Every congregation had a certain amount of lands and forests, and some part of it also were given back, but not all of them.
While the restoration of the school dormitory goes ahead, religious leaders fear that once Romania joins the European Union, pressure on the government to return church property will disappear.